Hey guys, yeah, it keeps happening again. I'm dropping in and out with my connection here because every time I see the connect to the internet flash, I'll get my trophies flashed and then it will go back. So it's going back and forth between connections. So I'm unable to play Fallout 76 because it's an online game, and I'm also unable to stream because I can't keep the connection going. I'm gonna try. I think it's because when I set up that Wi-Fi extender, I had to be. It needs to be 20 feet away from the original source, and that's clear on the other side of the house. I'm at the farthest. I'm in the farthest room away, kind of, sort of. My room's right there, right across the hall. That's where my computer is. Ooh, almost. I'm still wearing my mic, and I have my controller connected to it still. Excuse me. Uh, Me right now, where I'm sitting, I am directly in line to the source for our router here at my house. It is in a direct line for me. For some reason, my computer has no problems connecting to it. My PlayStation, my phone, it has a lot of problems. And that's why I got the extension for my phone and for my PlayStation so I can have smooth connection. And I'm honestly more than 20 feet away from where my router is. I'd say maybe 50, if that, maybe more. And then my extension is, oh yeah, no, definitely more. I am about 100 feet away because if I just move myself a little bit right here, I am in line with my extension, and that's about 12 feet away, 6 feet, 6 to 12 feet away from me. So maybe 80 to 100 feet from the original source. And there also can't be any more than one or two walls. I got the floor because I'm in the basement. So I think what I'm going to do is turn it off, unplug it, and move it into the middle of the rec room and see if that changes anything. And then we'll hopefully try to stream next week because those are my streaming days. And if I'm unable to stream, I'll keep trying usually, but my internet keeps going in and out. I mean, it's loaded now, but as soon as I get back into Fallout and I start to stream again, it's gonna go out within a couple of minutes, anyways. So I'm not gonna try again. So since I'm unable to stream, that's that. No Fallout 76 stream tonight or yesterday, depending on how long it takes for this to get published. So we'll try again next week for sure for Digimon. I do always make it a priority to always try Twitch every week. In the past few weeks, I've kind of just not really cared for it, but I do want to broaden my audience a little bit more because I only get one or two viewers, maybe three if I'm lucky, over here on YouTube. On Twitch, I've had about 10 people watching just with me playing Neverwinter. And if you go back and watch over on John's channel, The Logic. It was either there or on Shannon's channel, Comageddon, when we were doing our D&D stuff. That Billy said, I think he said it in our streams, or he had said it just before, but he had mentioned that everybody right now wants to see D&D because it's becoming super popular right now, and that's what people want to see. They want to see some Dungeons and Dragons, want to see people playing it, they want to see people's stories with it, they want to see people playing the video games of it, and that's really true. So I'm going to keep trying. But yeah, man, Dragon, I really don't know what to do. I want to stream, but I don't want to have to deal with losing the internet multiple times. I really don't know what to do. I think I'll take another one of my games that I have and see if, because I noticed a long time ago when I first got my PlayStation here, or my first one that got stolen, that it takes snapshots, it can take videos, it can stream, it can save clips, all that stuff. So I'm going to be testing something like that out. Power went out again. That's the second time today. And quite honestly, I'm sick of it. Ameren is my power company, and they're always doing work, and they're always shutting off my power. I'm sick of it too, because quite honestly, it can ruin my system. It can ruin my system. I gotta turn my TV back on. It can ruin my system, and then I won't have anything to play on, and that's not cool. Really not cool. And they're gonna need to be replacing whatever doesn't work. Speaking of replacing, if you caught Monday update, I had ended abruptly because I had just noticed that my Nintendo Switch had went missing. Now I will note that. Okay, so right there, right next to my PlayStation, you can see that is where my Switch stays, right in that empty spot right next to it. If you note, if on Monday during the update, I abruptly stopped because I noted it had gone missing. Now, I called my mom, told her, she told me to get a hold of that so-called friend of mine. This so-called friend of mine I've been friends with for over 10 years now. About almost 15 even, about 12 or 13 years. He's never stolen anything from me personally. So I called and asked him, hey, did you, or did that other guy you brought over to my house take my Nintendo Switch? He stuttered quite a bit because him getting accused is the second time within a couple of weeks because my brother-in-law's Xbox had gone missing. So he had stuttered quite a bit. He told me no. I do believe him. I did believe him. So I asked him if his buddy took it. A buddy that he brought to my house that I didn't even know he was bringing. He told me no. But he would get in contact with him and find out. So after talking with him, I called the police. I make a And I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for a couple hours for the police officer to get there. Apparently, he was doing some research because he said it sounded similar to what had already happened at my address, which it was. He comes by, and I'm giving him everything about this, about the two guys who were here, and he asked me why I think they sold it to Mega Replay. Actually, I called Mega Replay before I called the police to ask because I had one game still in the console, and that I knew they took it because they didn't even bother looking. I think all they saw was that I have more games for my PS4. Thought I played that more. Take the Switch. But they left it behind, as well as my box. And the girl that I talked to, I gave her my product serial number. I heard her, oh shit. She's real quietly under her breath. And I asked her, so how would I go about trying to get this back? She said I would have to go through the police. So, okay, I already knew that. Then I gave her the explanation about how last time I went through the police for this, they did shit. Seriously, they did nothing. And I would have rather just them give it back to me so I didn't have to go through the police and do nothing. But she couldn't, so I went through the police. Police officer asked me for my friend's information. Gave him everything. Asked me about the guy he brought over. I knew hardly anything. I only met the guy one other time. Later on, I was talking to my buddy because he had been avoiding my phone calls all night afterwards. And he had told me that he had called the guy who he was with. I was like, okay, so did he take my stuff or what? He said no. He said he doesn't remember taking it. He doesn't remember doing anything. Anything like that. Because he was so fucked up on drugs. To me, it sounded like he took it. Or one of them did. Police officer comes back. Because I had mentioned that Mega Replay would have had it. Because it's the closest place to sell a game system to. I mean, it's right up the road. It's right next to Walmart. So he said, okay, well, I'll go up there and check, and I'll check there first before I head back to the station and start calling the pawn shops around town so I don't have to drive all over. I said, okay. He goes to Mega Replay. He spends a couple hours there, and he's going through their system. And they did indeed have my Switch. Or had my Switch. They still had the game that was inside of it when it got sold, but not my Switch. They had actually had it held for 4 days, waiting for it to be reported stolen. When it didn't get reported stolen, they put it out on the floor, and it got sold. And I know this Nintendo Switch in particular goes pretty fast when it's available, because it's the blue and red neon controllers that everybody wants. And they had actually sold it at 11 o'clock Monday morning before I even put in that it was stolen. Now, they were completely apologetic about it. They didn't know. Police officer told them that they should hold on to their products longer for these situations. That's why pawn shops only hold stuff for a week to give it time, because sometimes people won't notice if something's missing right away. Like for me, example, it took me 4 days, which is how long they had it for, to notice that it was gone, and that it lined up with when my buddy and this other guy was here. And so when the police officer was here and we were exchanging all that information, my mom remembered his name. She said his name was Tony. Now, Tony is anywhere from 18 to 24. He's around my buddy's age, but I don't know for sure. He's kind of short, super skinny, and Caucasian, but however, he had a really, really deep tan and was dirty blonde. The guy who sold it was neither of them. The guy who sold its name was Anthony Bates, and he was a black man. So that kind of took a turn that we didn't know about. So we're like, well, I know for a fact that DR can't sell anything to anybody because state requires you for when you sell something to in places like Mega Replay or pawn shops, you need an ID. He does not have one, so he would get somebody else to sell it for him, or he'd go and sell it to someone he knows personally. I know that because I've done the same thing for him before. Of course, he would trick me into it because he knows I don't put up with him stealing stuff, especially when it got me in trouble and made it to where I can't sell at pawn shops if I do sell anything. Because he would say, "Hey, bro," he'd call me up and say, "Hey, bro, I been doing some work over here at this guy's house, and I saw that he has some lawnmowers that he don't use, and I asked him if I could have them so I could sell them and get some money." He said, "Yeah, sure." I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah. What are we gonna do?" "Well, I need you to come pick me up. We're gonna take my dad's truck, and we're gonna go pick him up. We go do this. We go sell him. We get some money. I get some gas money. I get some spending money. My computer's on a blue screen of death. Oh, crap. Crap. Not good. Oh, shit. I'm gonna have to check that. Fuck. Fuck. And so we found out that, anyways, we had found out that a black man named Anthony Bates had sold my PlayStation. But the police officer said he was going to get to the bottom of it. However, he wouldn't be able to track down the person who had bought my PlayStation from Mega Replay and get it back for me. Well, thank you very much. So I'm out of something. He said, no, if we can find the person who stole it, then they are responsible for replacing it or giving you compensation for you to get a new one. And that would have to be covered in civic court. I said, okay. Upon further research, because he had also said that Mega Replay refused to give him the information of who bought it. So I'm doing research. Mega Replay should have given him that information. And he also should have been able to track him down so I can get my stuff back. So yesterday, I ended up getting Tony's last name, or his supposed last name, from my buddy. Because right now, he's being too suspicious right now and trying to cover his tracks. But he gives me a last name and said his last name was Tish. Excuse me. Or what he goes by in town is Pretty Boy Tony. So I called the police station. I asked for the officer. And he was working in yesterday. But he was in a meeting, so he'd give me a call back. I said, okay, well, I only had some more information to give him anyways. I also then later found out that from Dustin, my buddy, that Tony felt really bad. And he planned on stealing, and he had used these words, another switch to replace mine. So I'm like, okay, so then he did take my switch. He's like, no. He's going to take another one and give it to me. Like, okay. But what is the reason for taking one to replace one that's already been taken? Stealing one that's already been stolen. That makes no sense, and he's just going to get in trouble in turn, and then I'd have to return that one. And then I'm out of one again. Said he didn't know. A couple hours later, I get a call from that police officer. He said, Hey, I do actually have some news about your Nintendo Switch. I was able to track down the person who bought it, and I got it back, and it's sitting up here at the police station with me, waiting for you to come pick it up. Yeah, and asked if I was going to be able to come make it to pick it up, otherwise it would go into evidence until I can. I said, yeah, I can pick it up around 5:30 later. I said, okay, I'll be here when you come up then. All right, cool, thank you. Then he asked me what I needed to give him. So I gave him Tony's supposed last name and his nickname that he goes by. He did a background check on him and he couldn't find any Tony Tish in the system. My computer's still blue, goddammit. Shit. So he couldn't find any Tony in the system. And then he asked me for Dustin's number again because he hadn't answered any of his police officers' calls either. So I gave it to him again, and he calls him about an hour later, half hour later. Police officer calls me back. He said, hey, I just got done talking on the phone with Dustin, and he told me that there was a miscommunication error and said that Tony didn't take my PlayStation, didn't take your PlayStation, didn't take your Switch. So I was like, okay. So what does that mean? And he told me, well, now, since the only other person that we have left to talk to and I'm unable to get a hold of right now is Anthony Bates, the guy who sold it to Mega Replay. I'm like, okay. And until we're able to talk to him and find out how he got a hold of it, it's going to have to remain in evidence lockup. So I'm like, so does that mean I can't pick it up then? He's like, correct. So I asked him, okay, when would I be able to get it? He said, try back in a week and call, see if we still need it. If we don't, you're free to come pick it up. But if we still need it, wait another week because we could still need it for evidence. I said, okay. So instead of getting it back last night, I now have to get it anywhere next week to the week after. Now, the question is, how did this black man get into my house? As I had also mentioned throughout multiple videos and in the update, I'm babysitting now. Even before I babysat, I'm sitting in this house 24/7 damn near. The only time I leave this house is when there's somebody else here. Not just anybody else here, because I have my 1-year-old niece that I'm watching and my 8-year-old baby sister. Anybody else who's going to be at the house needs to be an adult. That's the only time I ever leave the house. How the hell is a black man going to sneak into my house at all? And in the time frame that it went missing, there was myself home, my niece, my youngest sister, my dog, and my mother at that time when it went missing. He wouldn't have gotten in through my door. Because during that time when the back door opened and my mom was in her chair trying to take a nap, she said, who the hell's coming through my back door? And my buddy replied, just me, Mom. Well, that was the same day that it ended up getting sold at Mega Replay. So, the police officer said he was going to get in contact